Welcome to Seafood Matters Podcast, a voice for the seafood industry. And with over 60 years hands-on experience, I'm your host, Jim Cowie. I'd like to welcome Peter Bruce, a well-known fisherman from Peterhead in Scotland, and Jón Kristjánsson, a fisheries scientist from Iceland. I would like to ask Peter for a situation. You seem to be well informed with the situation with the North Sea, with the Danish industrial fishing for sand eels for, believe it or not, the pig farms. Can you elaborate on that, Peter?
To me, Jim, it's a crazy situation that, our boats are restricted with quotas. At the same time, you have the Danish sand eel boats. They're allowed to take 83,000 tons. Just over 83,000 tons is their quota this year for sand eels in the North Sea. It's no benefit to the UK fleet at all that these guys are taking this massive amount of feed for our fish. I don't think we'll have any UK boats fishing the sand eels. If there are, there's maybe just one or two. So, to me, it's a crazy situation. I remember years ago where we used to get good fishing on the Bergen Bank and the Bressay, and the fish were full of sand eels. No, we never see that. No, I'm not blaming the sand eel boats 100% for that, but they must be a bit responsible as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Sorry, if I could just say that the point that it makes of interest to me is two things. In two previous podcasts, we've had one was a Michelle Stanley, who was saying about they've had fantastic results. She's a scientist and they're working with seaweed, and they have had fantastic results with pig farms in the west coast of Scotland doing trials. And Jón went on to great lengths at a previous podcast when he was saying about the overpopulation being such a huge problem in the North Sea. And I just think there must be an equation there where overpopulation for the available food that's left after all this industrial fishing. Is that too simple to take it as right, John?
Sanders, this is the same thing they say about in Iceland about capelin versus cod. That we shouldn't fish capelin because it's a food for the cod. But in the capelin thing is that we caught up to 1 million ton capelin. It comes in and it's caught in the winter when it's come to spawning, and it will die anyway after spawning. And then the cod is eating capelin and laying on the bottom, digesting it. But they only get it once a year. And they decide how much capelin is coming to spawn because they feed on capelin the first 2 years of their life and decide at the capelin it's around Iceland on the shallow coast. And then they go feed north to Greenland, and then they come back fat and big. So they decide by their eating the quantity that will go to the north and come back. So they feed on capelin all the time, in the previous early life of the capelin. But if you calculate a little about it, to gain 1 kilogram in weight of cod, they have to eat 10 kilograms of capelin. And if you are allowed to only fish 20% of that increase in weight they get, you have to 50-fold the price of cod against cabling, selling it. You see? So by fishing more cod, you could get more cabling and more cod. It is not so simple system because capelin and sandils, they are predators on the plankton. They have to eat, and they are competing with the young cod larvae. And come to that, they caught 500,000 ton for many years in the North Sea. Now they are catching 80,000 tons. This would make only, one few tons of cod, few 10 tons of cod. All this cabling if they ate it. The problem is that you are not allowed to fish cod. I remember when I came first here, having been in Norway for studying, we were grazing out stocks in the lakes because the fish were all small, and by increasing the fishing pressure and catch more, they grew bigger. Then people said to me, but can't you feed them? Buy a food and feed the fish in the lake so they can get bigger. The short answer is that you get more hungry fish.
Well, I mean, in the northern North Sea, there's just no sand eels to eat. So, I mean, you know the cod, John. It'll eat anything it can get. It can eat. When our lads are getting cod, I mean, they're full of small fish, pout, herring, mackerel. I mean, as you can, I mean, the cod is a gutsy fish and it'll eat anything it can.
I know, but they have to be both in the same place at the same time. I remember when I was in the Irish Sea on a trawler there, I got at the fish and saw it was full of prawns. And the fisherman said, really, is he eating our prawns? They eat anything. And they had herring in the stomach also, which means they travel from bottom to upsea to catch the herring. So they are all over. But this is not a simple thing. In the 77, when you were there, they caught a lot more of cod. Therefore, you saw maybe sand eels all over because cod is feeding on the sand eels. And the sand eels is competing with the cod by eating plankton from the small, which the small cod feed on, the smallest ones. So it is a complicated thing, this predator-prey system. We could see here, for example, that when the mackerel came in 2005 or something, the puffins were starving in the Westman Islands because there were no sand eels. Why were there no sand eels? Maybe the mackerel ate them or ate their feet. And we can see when mackerel comes into a big bay in northern Iceland, all birds have disappeared in a week because they're eating the same food as the birds. So a mackerel in our field is like grasshoppers. They eat everything, and in Norway they are responsible, they think, for the for the small catches of salmon, because they prey all the Norwegian coast. So predator prey is a very complicated thing, and if you look at it, 100,000 tons of sand eels, they can produce about 10,000 tons of cod, which you are allowed only to fish 2,000. So you have to weigh that against each other. Is 100,000 tons of sand eels worth more than 2,000 tons of cod? The main problem, as we have talked about many, many times, that the catches are too low, and the scientists' advice is too low because they never find any fish, so they believe there's no cod. But you have said many times recent year, Peter, that the North Sea is full of cod, right?
That's right. Oh, aye,
So that problem is the science,
aye. Oh, aye,
and the politicians believe believe them as they believe in God. If they do that,
aye. Well, Jim, I mean, John, I mean, as you know, I've fished in the North Sea since 1977, over
yeah,
40 years. And every year, probably we've heard about overfishing. I
yeah,
mean, if this overfishing was taking place, why am I still into fishing? Okay?
yes, and
40, 40,
why
40 years later.
how can you overfish with 20,000 tons today against 200,000 tons few years back?
All right.
And as you know, everywhere where they started to control or maintain the stocks by fishing less, it has gone down in every country
Aye,
around this Atlantic Ocean.
aye. Well,
And
like,
always our fishermen say today, how can we overfish when we only fish a fraction of what we did before? No, scientists say that's old overfishing.
I mean, when we go out now, compared to what we used to see, Jim, I mean, we used to see massive boats.
Yes,
Every other day we was fishing aside other pair teams or seanet boats or something. I mean, from we're out there now, we hardly see a boat. Okay? And we're
no,
still accused. I mean, I said a thing last week. I mean, Greenpeace had this big press release last week about overfishing and everything. And I said, I said, even if we was down to two boats, they would want us cut to one. Okay? It's always overfishing, and it's just it's a crazy situation. Like,
yes, but you took one green cook was it to sea to show him how it was in the sea.
what's that? Sorry.
You took a guy who had a program in the television. You
Aye,
took him out to the sea to show him how it really was.
aye, that's right. That's right.
Did that have an effect?
Well, it didn't do any harm. I mean, there was a lot of people again. I would say was very against him coming away me, but I wanted to show him what was actually seeing, and he did agree with some of the things I was saying. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't regret taking him away, which a few years ago now. Like, but I mean, it's just. I mean, you were speaking earlier about to me about college, and you get these people coming out of university, and it alarms me to come out of university with what I call non-degrees.
Uh-huh.
Really, a degree to nothing. And a lot of them are environmental degrees, and the only place they can get a job is with these green groups. And they have to toe the line with these green groups, or they want to get funded. They want to have a job. And how do they toe the line? By coming away with things like overfishing all the time. And there's no substance to what they're saying at all. They're just towing what I would call the party line of fishermen overfishing. Hugh Fairley Whittenstall, I took away. Because, I mean, I was just really, really angry. I mean, he was coming on to this Hugh's fish fight, and all you was hearing about was negative things about the fishing industry. And at that time, we had done so much work to try and get the cod stock back. And we had got the cod stock back, but all you was getting with him was negative things about discards. And I wanted to take him away and show him some of the things we'd done, like putting bigger mesh to the belly of the net, like the Orkney trawl. It's what it's called, the Orkney trawl. And that has been proved to release more small codlins. And no, I mean, I wanted to show him, and in the end, he did agree reluctantly, we had taken measures to try and increase the cod stock.
I mean, I have been in this all my career. I said in '83 when we took up the quota system that protecting starving fish with fishing less was the worst thing you can do. And I have proved right all the way. It's gone down, down, down. We are now fishing half of what we did before the quota system. And we are still cutting down because they have had previously overestimated. If somebody steals from your shop, you explain it by there was a misleading bookkeeping in the store, but not that there was a thief that came and took it. So they always say we did wrong back, but we are on the right course now. And we discussed for 40 years for them. I have had long talks in the Parliament group, which is governing the fishing policy. They said it was very interesting what I was saying, but it did nothing. It's so easy for the politician to say when you criticize the fishing matters that it's easy to say we listen to the scientists, but we know, Peter, the scientists as worth nothing. Why don't they find any cod in the North Sea while you were see massive cod stocks? Why don't they see anything?
I mean, there's no doubt about their research is just so out of date and so flawed. I mean, John, you was kind of saying that the fleet has got smaller, and that is borne out with what we see in Peterhead. I mean, Peterhead, for a while, we had 120 Peterhead boats. That's 120 with the PD on it. And now we are down to about 20. And they're still saying overfishing. I mean, as I said last week in that post by Greenpeace about overfishing. I mean, if you look round about the UK, we have so much harbours now ports that used to be fishing harbours, and now they're yacht marinas. Like that Anstruther, for used to have a massive CNET fleet. It's all yachts. White Hells, for used to have a lot of inshore boats. A yacht marina, and that is the same all around about the UK, and we still get this overfishing lies. It's really, for me as a skipper, it's really frustrating.
I mean, in America, they take politicians for hearing, and they baffle them down with very difficult questions. The scientists should be taken to hearing by us, and they would have to answer what they have done wrong. They have done everything has gone the opposite way what they promised.
But the problem we have, Jam, is we are just fishermen. What do we I mean? That's just the attitude it goes. They go to university, they've got a bit of paper. It says, oh, they've got this degree. We are just fishermen. We are bound to say there's lots of fish in the sea. And that's what comes out all the time. What do we as fishermen ken really about it?
I am a scientist educated from the university, and what do they say to me? They say I'm a bad scientist because I don't agree with them. But I have been at sea, I have been everywhere, and so in many countries, in many both shrimp and cod and trout and salmon, everything, everywhere is the same thing: overfishing.
It's a crazy situation. Jam. I mean, as I say, I'm repeating myself, but we haven't changed any of the areas we went to. I'm a prime example. We fish out in the Bergen Bank, we fish the Bressay. We go to the same areas all the time, and we're still catching lots of fish. I mean, some years there's lots of haddock. Maybe the next year you might get much more cod, not so much haddock. Things go in cycle. Again, nature does that. Like, but I mean, to get these green groups just spouting. I mean, and they get away with it all the time. It's very, very frustrating. It is. It's just nature. I mean, just now. I mean, if I speak about what we're seeing in the North Sea just now, it's it's a problem. We have a big problem just now in the North Sea, and the problem is there's just haddocks everywhere. I mean, there really is haddock. It's very, very like, John, when you came to Scotland in 2002. We have this massive year class of haddocks, and they're really small. I mind John when he came in 2000. He says you are not going to catch these haddocks are not going to start growing until you thin them out a bit. There's too much haddocks just now. They're not going to grow. I mind John went down to the market in Peterhead, and he was actually taking raw out of haddocks, which were only fit
Herring size.
30. They weren't even 30 centimeters.
No.
And he says, you can tell what you were saying, John. Then this fish were mature, but they were only 30 centimeters.
Yeah. I mean, the worst example now is the Baltic Sea. It was they caught about I think 400,000 tons of cod in 60 something. But now it's closed for all fishing because the fish don't grow. They are small and they're parasited. And the story is that they discovered that the Poles, they were fishing much more than they said because their export was larger than the catch they cleared. So the EU and the nations worked to block the Poles and got them into EU and put a quota system on them and took away and destroyed thousands of boats. And I told them in 2009 that the growth is so poor of this cod that you can't increase the mass and you can't reduce the fishing because it has no meaning. It will only get worse. It got worse and worse and worse, and I investigated the age and the growth of the fish, and I sent reports to the scientists and everybody, but nobody listened. Now it's closed. They are waiting for nature to cure itself. There's no cod fishing allowed in the Baltic Sea, which has been harvested for generations. Can you have it more clear?
Aye. Right. Well, in 2002, it wasn't. I mean, we finally did get these haddocks to start growing, but it wasn't until we had fished a lot of them out. You know.
Yes,
I
but
mean, and that's a problem we have just now. I mean, there's just you wouldn't believe there's a sea of haddocks everywhere in the North Sea just now, and the worrying for me, we haven't got the fleet now to fish them.
No, and you have not got the mesh size to fish them either.
Well, we're fishing 100. We've got 120 millimeter, but there's so much of them. We're catching them. I mean,
Yeah.
the problem we have as well, we haven't got the capacity for processing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was
the guys have been coming in with these small haddocks, and they're probably about would they be about 30 to about 34 centimeters, and the prices are poor for them. But sometimes, because the cod quota is so long, so small, they're having to land them. Okay, it's we have that problem just now.
Yes,
They're just everywhere.
When I was on the fruitful harvest, they threw about 90% of the cards, and they told me they were getting money for decommission.
Aye.
I said, why? And they were pulling by hands barrels of fish up and down the lasting room, right?
Mhm.
All done by hands, man hands. I
Aye.
said they should use money for invest in better equipment on board the trawlers and let you fish more.
No.
No, they were destroying the boats in a case where you should fish a lot more,
No.
as you know, but nobody listens. We have had many and talks, but nobody listens.
No. No.
And even remember when I came to Peterhead, you called Tom Hay and say, we have a scientist there. You should talk to him. He said, no, I'm long time ago since I talked to scientists. They're all stupid.
No, no. You are the right. You are right with what you said, John. I mean, that was proven. That was proven a couple of years after, once the guys had fished the haddock down a bit. When we had it, that's when we had quite a big fleet.
Oh, really?
Good.
No, this is a problem. We see it now clearly with the salmon. We can't buy natural salmon because they are all released. And they say the farmed salmon is a scrub. The natural salmon is much better, but you can't get it because they're all released. And the nets are out in all rivers, and the salmon fishery is going down as a result of no harvesting.
Yeah.
You even have one of the richest men in Britain buying up rivers here in Iceland to save the North Atlantic salmon stock. And how does he do it? He releases all the fish in the rivers and make fish ladders and so on. But nobody is catching anything. They're just playing with the fish. That's horrible. He's buying up land with the rivers to do this.
Right. Okay.
You know him, Radcliffe?
Who?
Radcliffe.
Radcliffe. Oh,
yes.
aye.
He is here. He has bought 3 or 4 rivers.
Aye.
One of the best rivers in the north, and he pays scientists to do research. Yeah. And they do it even if they have been investigating this river for 30 years. It is fully done. Aye. But they go for the money.
Aye.
It's horrible.
Aye. John was saying, when will things change? I mean, that's the worrying thing about me. That's the worrying thing I see, is that things never seem to change. I mean, they just seem to go by the science all the time and by what the scientists say, and our fleet are getting smaller and smaller all the time. And it's I was making a point. What do organisations like Greenpeace really want? Do they want to get to the stage that we have no fish coming into the UK at all? Local wild fish. Do they want all the fish coming into the UK to be imported, being flown all around for different parts of the world? What good is that for the environment? I mean, you would actually think that's what these organisations actually want. It's crazy.
In Faroes, they were just jailed. They put them in jail when they were trying to stop the whaling. They have been here all summer because we have been catching whales this year. We have caught about 100 big whales. They are hanging up there, filming and distributing to the world what horrible things we are doing. But there are hundreds and thousands of whales in the Atlantic, and we are catching only 100 or 150 maybe.
If they were going to go and dump all these boulders on the fishing grounds on the Bergen Bank in the Norwegian sector on Iceland, they just wouldn't get off. What? I mean, we could actually have boats in trouble, in crews injured or killed. Well, what they are doing just now with these big boulders, it's just a total travesty and a disgrace what they're doing. Well, I mean, we're fisheries organisations.
But what do we do in Norway?
Speaking to the government, protesting.
But in Norway, do they allow them to do this in Norway?
Nothing seems to be done about it, John. They don't attempt to do it in Norway because actually no. I mean, if they were starting dumping boulders into the sea in Norway,
Yes,
I
yes.
would say they would. I mean, their boats would be arrested by the Norwegian gunboat. I'm pretty sure. I'm
This is
pretty
very.
sure, but that would happen.
In the old times, they sent the navy to Iceland, and the Icelandic small wooden gunboats were trying to sail them down.
But I mean, you've got. I mean, the worrying for me, Jam. I was watching footage the last day, and this was some of the environmental groups, and you know what they were doing. I don't know, Ken, if you've seen it or no, Jam. They were actually drilling into tires of lorries. That's what they were doing, and there was. It didn't seem to be nothing doing to them. They were saying these lorries were killing the. They were contributing so much to climate change, and they were actually drilling into the tires and bursting the tires of these massive lorries. And I was just thinking, what they got to be doing next to the fishing boat? That are going to be going aboard the fishing boats, and you just it is worrying how much these environmental groups seem to get off with.
This Tom Watson, he's in Sea
What's
Shepherd.
that?
They sunk two whaleboats many years ago in the harbor of Reykjavik.
Right,
Yes, he opened the bottom holes in it, and they
sunk two
sank in the
whaleboats.
harbor. He was not jailed. I think they didn't catch him, but he is not allowed to come here. Yeah, they are protecting the last cod, but the problem is there are so many of the cod, they can't protect them all.
I better name mention the name of the guy because I'm on a podcast here and I could be wrong. Well, I'm near wrong, but I was told one of these green groups they get so much funding, and one of the guys that had run it, he was giving himself a salary as a consultant or a green group. He had funded himself or three figures. That's how much he was getting as guy, and he had founded as Green Group, and he was a consultant to them, and he was getting, and that's how much money was. I'm sorry, it wasn't the three figures. It was six. It was actually it was over £100,000. He was actually getting paid for his consultancy fees, and he had funded that group. Okay. It's amazing when you delve. I mean, I sometimes think it we dinna it our organisations dinna delve enough down into these facts about these green groups
But it is strange
to
to
just
sum
tell
it
the
up
public
that
the truth about
even
what's
if
at
we
stake
got
here. Like,
all the proofs of wrong advice on the table, nobody reacts. It is all clear. It is proven that they have had wrong for 40 years and done wrong thing and done fantastic harm to nations and fishermen and other people. And they are still going strong as nothing have happened. And even the Minister of Fisheries, he said yesterday, we have the best fish management system in the world. And we could export it to other countries. It's absolutely, they are so blind. It's horrible.
that's what saddens me about our industry, how small it is gotten now. I mean, we're the UK is an island nation, and I mean we should be taking a lot more fish out of the sea and eating it locally and it's not only about food, it's about creating employment round about our coast as well. I mean, we can never forget for every one man gone to sea, there's maybe six working ashore, if no more. Okay, and so I mean, it's done a lot of damage. I mean, these green groups have done a lot of damage to to a lot of the fishing, the coastal communities round about our coast. Sometimes you would actually think they were in cahoots with some of the green groups, some of the scientists. You would actually think.
I think 10 companies has 80% of the quotas in Iceland, and they're trying to buy out all the small ones. And they have their whole chain. They have the fishing, processing, transporting, selling, and everything. And a lot of money from them, it goes abroad because they have a selling system. In Britain they have a group selling their fish, and they get it for a lower price for them because they take the profit in the foreign group. So the fishermen are paid less for the fish. The harpers are paid less costs for using the harpers, and everybody is losing except them. They have taken this profit into tax-free ports. Icelandic criminals, as I say.
Okay.
But they place their money in foreign banks in Bermuda, from some tax places. So there's a lot of discussion about it here, but they seem to rule the country. Some of these guys rule the country. They have all the politicians on their side, and maybe they pay bribes in Namibia, you know, and in Faroes even, and they have money laundering in Norway and so on and so forth. But they seem to get away all the time because they have bought all the politicians. It's horrible, and we can do nothing. For not to mention the cost of the quota system is also that we, the people in the country, never get cheap fish as they did earlier. We used to eat fish 5 or 6 days a week. Now maybe we do it twice a month because it's so expensive. It's much more expensive than beef. A fillet of fish is the same price as beef. It's absolutely insane, and it's double the price of pig, or triple. Crazy.
Aye. I wasn't along being cut, eh? I, I, I think I just started maybe, I started in 77, and I would say maybe the quota started at just about that time, if nay, no, and it's just, especially with us, for have a mixed fishery. It's a crazy situation, really. Okay, but I mean, I can never see it changing in the UK now because there's just so much money invested in quota. Okay, there's just I can't see it. And for the fear for me, if they did away with quotas and went on to days at sea, I mean, I've heard some shocking things about that. If they would give you days all like to the smallest stock, so you would end up fishing probably something crazy like if they did away with quotas, you would probably end up fishing 90 days a year or something like that. And how could that be viable?
The, the quota system made you cut take as much money out of the sea as you can, but not as much fish. That's why you discard fish. They take the best quality fish out, and they throw away the less valuable fish. Except in Faroe, where they're allowed to come catch everything they can. Now there is so much money in it, and it's money in it for the bank. In the crash here 10 years ago, they were going to change the system, but the bank said no. The banks have so big loans in the fishing industry that they can't tolerate that the quota system is taken away.
I think there would be massive opposition by the banks. And if you actually did away with the quotas, because there's so much money, people have guarantees on their boats because their quota is worth so much money. Again, so I I kind of see that changing. Again, I mean, fit I would like to see more is I don't know ken how they would do it is maybe if we could have a multi species quota or something, you know, none of this individual quotas. Okay, but I probably wouldn't happen either. Like I think I would like to see something put in place that young guys could get their foot in. I mean, shit. Let's give a lot of credit to Shetland here. I mean, they have a lot of new young partnerships starting there, and they have like community quota. But I would like to see something being done myself personally on the UK mainland for young guys to be able to get a start.
In Norway, they have such a system because they say we have to hold up the population in northern Norway. They do it through the fishing system. So you can start with a quota and you can work you up, as we say. And we have several Icelanders which are fishing from Norway, out of Norway, and they do it very, very well. And they have even managed to teach the Norwegian how to handle the fish. I mean, they cut the head of all fish in Norway, and we don't do that. We take the heads ashore and sell them to Nigeria, dry them, and we are yes, we are. I think what was thrown away earlier is now more worth than the fish was before. They take swim bladder, they take everything, even the gills. And there are machines here to all sort it out. It's everything is used, and the skin is very valuable. It is used for medical products. The skin of cod. It is used to heal wounds that would grow on your arm or foot or wherever they plant. They have special parts made of cod skin to cover sores and wounds. That's an export from us. Very valuable thing.
Is that in Iceland, John? You're speaking about? They do what?
Yeah, we
Okay.
do that.
I never knew about Iceland, but I knew Norway have things like that. They utilise the whole fish. We have a company in Peterhead that they utilise the frames of the fish, kind of like the bones of the fish.
Yeah,
They have a place over the back of the market in Peterhead, and I think that these the frames are the bones of the fish.
we have done it for many, many years. And we dry the heads by our geothermal water and dry it there and export to Nigeria. And it's very valuable for them.
Yeah, well, I always think that we have a fantastic product in fish. Jam will agree with me, his way his restaurant, but I mean, it's it's a number one natural product, is it? I mean, there's nothing to or I mean, it's like a natural thing. We didn't promote it enough.
Heads from big cod, just cooked heads, cod heads. It's fantastic. And one
Aye,
head is plenty for one
good
person.
heads. Aye.
But this is cods from 5 to 10 kilos. And the head is a delicious thing. You heat the water to boil. You have salt water, and you put the head in and let it, and you turn off the heat and you let it stay for 10 minutes, and then it's ready. Best source for all these expensive products you buy in the food stores. What it is? Don't remember. Amino acids blended. Collagen. It's called collagen. It's better from the fish head than from the box.
You know what our lads caught last week. I was when I was speaking to Jim earlier. I was telling him, John, our lads caught caught an 8-foot tuna last week in the North Sea.
A tuna.
I mean, I've never caught
Yeah.
one. I've never, a tuna, bluefin tuna. Yeah. I mean, it just shows how things are changing a bit as well. I mean, as I say, I mean, I'm repeating myself, but I've fished since '77, and I have never caught one. And I was off last trip, and my son, he was fair chuffed. He got it, and it was just prime condition as well. It was a massive fish, beautiful fish. It just shows you how things are changing a wee bit. We didn't have a license to take it in, so I mean we couldn't land it like. But, I mean, they got a
Yes.
few meals off it. I put it like that. The thing was dead anyway. So, but there was another Scottish boat caught one last week, and they're being caught regular now. I mean that's something that really frustrates me about the quota system. How inflexible it is. I mean, we've had a problem over the last couple of years with hake in the North Sea. We didn't have any track record for catching this new fishery in the North Sea, and I mean that is a problem. The quota system is so inflexible; it takes ages for things to change. I mean that's what we're saying just now. I mean if our boats are catching tuna, which we can see happening in the years to come, they should be at least being able to land a few, take them ashore, and someone to get a good of them. And fit good is it to anybody. I mean, if these things are being caught just accidentally and they're dead
No, no.
anyway, what's the sense of not taking them in? I mean, it's unbelievable. But I think they've had some fish. I think the world record price is about $500,000 or something for these prime fish. It goes to a special sushi kind of restaurants. But this is not something new. I mean, if you go onto YouTube, you can see the Norwegian had a fishery. The Norwegians had a fishery
Yes.
in southern Norway for bluefin tuna. If you can Google it on YouTube, not Google it on YouTube, but you can search on YouTube for Norwegian tuna fishery, and there's brilliant footage on of them catching tuna in the southern North Sea. You can't fall happen. I mean, if we start getting a quota for tuna, you can imagine if we start speaking. I mean, I came where organisations are starting to speak about it, but you can imagine the opposition for the green group still it. Okay, for no reason at all.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Seafood Matters podcast. You can get in touch and listen to all the other episodes on my website, seafoodmatterspodcast.com.